Since the infamous 07-08 season, Derby County have never been back into the Premier League. And so when Mel Morris took over the club in 2015, the atmosphere on the club was positive and hopeful. And to be fair to him, he did put in millions upon millions of pounds, which would later on be Derby County's downfall. But at the start, it was working. 3 seasons out of the next 4, they finished in the playoffs, going as far as into the playoff finals in the 2019 season. However, they did lose to Aston Villa in heartbreaking fashion.
You're a donut! You're so stupid!
However, fast forward 3 years, they're in the SkyBet League One. With Mel Morris gone, the club was in administration and they were in huge debt. At the start of last season, Derby County was handed a 21-point deficit, and for a club that finished 21st the previous season, as you might expect, they couldn't overcome it.
That tastes like
relegation.
On July 1st, David Klaus confirmed his takeover of the club, which resulted in a more hopeful and more positive atmosphere. However, in this alternate reality, Derby County is still under administration and have just hired 30-year-old Karna Damanik as the head coach. This is the story of Derby's domination. Now, before we start, let's outline the target of this series. There are certain conditions that will allow us to end this series. 1. Winning the Prem 3 times in a row. 2. Winning the Champions League 2 times in a row. 3. Winning the Champions League and the Premier League in the same season. Or 4. Winning both the Premier League and the Champions League twice. If any of these 4 happens, the series ends. I don't need to do all of them, just one of these has to happen. So, let's get started, shall we? First off is the team. As you guys can probably tell, this Derby team has been demolished. Almost every single under 23-year-old that had the potential to play in the Premier League left to go to other teams, except for 2, Bielik and Bert. Now these guys will probably be the cornerstone of our team for years to come. Next up are the summer signings that Derby have done in real life. David McGoldrick, James Collins are 2 very solid strikers that are especially good in League One. Conor Horahan, a solid championship level midfielder. James Chester and Joe Watt-Smith, again a very solid centre back and a very solid goalkeeper. Along with that, this is probably our most important addition, a loan from Brighton, Hayden Roberts. This guy looks amazing. I'm not sure if we can buy him. At the very least, I genuinely think we can loan him again next season if we want to. One more thing you guys should probably know is that it's a small squad. Surely that means we will sign more players, right? Well, not exactly. We cannot sign anyone since we are currently under a transfer embargo. So this is the squad that we had to make do. Looking at it, I generally think 4-4-2 is the best formation to use. And because of that, I have basically just pulled out an RDF tactic video and just copied it. Now, looking at the season target, win the league, okay. Reach the FA Cup 4th round, okay. Bit hard for League One team, but okay. So basically nothing really crazy. After beating pretty much every single team in a friendly, I was pretty confident. But alas, it's FM. Our top striker just had to get injured now.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
Well, I guess Bobby Duncan it is. Our first opponent is Wycombe Wanderers. They literally were in the championship 2 seasons ago. It's not a walk in the park.
Psych!
As we started the game, not even 10 minutes in, a highlight popped up and well, this happened. Corey Smith scored the first goal ever under Damanik. And not even 30 minutes later, who else but the under 23 striker Bobby Duncan to pop up and score his first goal under Karna Damanik. We added one final goal before the final whistle and we ran out comfortable 3-0 victors. Of course, I knew not every single game would be like this, but to win your first game was always a positive plus. But then we lost. 2-0 to be precise against Peterborough. Now we did bounce back against MK Dons, a 5-0 romping of the Dons. I thought that we would genuinely go on and have a run of games. And then we got 2 points in our next 4 games. After 7 games, we only had 8 points and was 16th in the table.
It's not looking good, Bev.
Now things had to change. Evidently something was wrong, so I decided to tweak the formation just a little bit. Instead of having a target forward, I put a pressing forward, and instead of having wide midfielders, I put them into wingers. And to be honest, things were going pretty good. 4 wins along with 14 points in our next 7 games suggests that I was going on the right lines. But then the wins stopped coming, and 2 draws and a loss in the next 3 games left us scrambling for points. Although at that time I did not find it lucky, our wingers was injured. And so I thought to myself, I do not want to change this formation. So I literally dragged the left wing position and put it centrally and have an advanced playmaker just behind the two strikers. We won the first game 5-1 with a hat-trick from the returning McGoldrick, and things were going great. I genuinely thought that this was it. I've stumbled upon a formation that worked well. However, before we continue the league games, let's talk about the FA Cups. If you guys remembered, we were tasked in guiding the Rams into the 4th round. First round, we received Vanarama National League side Boreham Wood and comfortably eased them aside 4-0. Next up, Burton Albion. After a KG1-all draw, we went and smashed them 3-0. In the 3rd round, we were drawn a championship side. Surely, even with a new formation, a championship side is still a step too far. Well, okay then. I genuinely thought that this was the affirmation that we needed to tell me the formation worked. I mean, we were tasked to go to the 4th round and we accomplished it. But when a draw came, we somehow managed to get one of the only 5 League One sides available. And with an early Sturman goal, we were through to the round of 16. We were the only League One side left. In a sea of Premier League and Champions League teams, it made our chances slim. If we can draw a championship team, who knows what?
Stupid guy.
As expected, Chelsea made quick work of us and won 4-1. Now, I guess you could say that we did score, so yeah. What was that? The Carabao Cup, you say? We don't need to talk about that. It's not like we were lost in the first round or anything.
How can you be that bad?
Anyways, back to the league. Now, after the win against Morecambe, we went up against 2 more teams and lost. Accrington Stanley and Barnsley. However, like I said, we were still playing well, so I stuck with the formation. And it was a good thing that I did, because in our next 5 games, well, we won. And won. And won. And won. And won. And suddenly, we were knocking on the playoff door. We were there. We were genuinely there. Just waiting and hoping for one of the teams to drop off. But in an unexpected turn of events, we went on a run of 7 unbeaten games until the end of January, which propelled us from playoff contention into 2nd place with just 4 points off top of the league. Speaking of January, let's talk about transfers. We got a notice that said Derby was no longer under administration. That means our transfer embargo was lifted. However, transfers was just not possible. That does not mean we can't loan players though. You see, we had been dealing with so many injuries. Because of that, as fellow coach Zealand Shannon once said, now I went to every single top 6 side and searched for every possible players that would go out on loan. We got 3 of them. Let's start off with the defenders, Maxim Paskotsky and Luke Mbete. We also needed a midfielder, and because of that I brought in Matthew Smith from Arsenal. He was an okay centre mid, I guess, mainly there for substitute appearances, and if either Horahan, Bird and Bailey got injured. Not great, not amazing, but not bad too. And now we move on to the big boys. As soon as the inbox came and told us that the transfer embargo was lifted, I asked my scouts to look for loans. There were 2 that stood out. 1, a left back from Southampton. Now, the main reason why he stood out was because he was the only left back that was offered to us. And I chose him, well, just because I knew him. I knew him from FIFA, I knew him from past FM, I knew him from career mode, and he was genuinely a beast, so I loaned him in. And the second one was a very interesting defender, Tom Holmes from Reading. Now, it was not a Premier League side, it was a Championship side, and I was surprised Reading allowed us to loan him, to be honest with you. I did went a bit overboard on the centre backs, because not only did I sign 3 loanees, I also brought in another free agent, which is another centre back, Michael Hector. I mean, you know, he's alright. He'll be there for backup. He'll be there for bodies. Yeah. After getting all the loans in, we were like genuinely a dog let off a leash. In the month of February, we went flawless, winning 4 from 4, putting us tied first with Barnsley with 11 games to go. Now, granted, both them and Ipswich have a game in hand, but at some point we were first. March was similar. 4 wins and a draw from 5 would normally propel us to the first place, but unfortunately, Ipswich was a thing. Now, I don't know when it started, but Ipswich suddenly went 6 from 6 and had a 3-point advantage with 6 games to go. Out of nowhere, Ipswich propelled themselves into the first place. 6 games to go, our first game. After a corner, James Collins, our top scorer, stayed back to help defend, and in a moment of blood rushing through his head, gives away a penalty. Just 4 minutes in, Derby County were down 1-0. Now, after shouting at the players at halftime, something awoke in them, especially Collins, because in the 54th minute, Hurhan brought the ball upfield and launched a counter-attack. After a few passes to create space, the ball was pulled back to the guy that we loaned, Jake Wilkins, who floats a delicious cross into the box right onto the path of Collins. 1-1. Game on. 21 minutes later, Mendes Lang found himself some space in the right, pings a cross into the path of Collins, only for the defender to trip him up. And of course, he scored, despite his early howler by giving away a penalty in the 4th minute. He paid us back with a brace, which kept us within touching distance of Ipswich Town. And speaking of Ipswich Town, they dropped points, 2 points to be exact. This is it, we were only 1 point off with 5 games remaining. Can we turn our season around from being as low as 16th to winning the SkyBet League One? But before that, we had to focus on getting promoted. And to do that, we had to win our next 3 games and hope that Barnsley at least draw once in the next 3. Well, we did just that, emphatically, scoring 15 times in the next 3 games in a 7-1 win and 2 4-0 wins. And Barnsley, well, they lost once. And just like that, we got promoted. We have officially gotten promotion, and we bounced back from League One into the Championship in just 1 season.
A great success!
This promotion would not have been possible without Bobby Duncan and James Collins, both scoring 19 goals and 21 respectively. Both were brought in on a free by Derby in real life, just to let you know. And of course, we can't forget about David Mogodre. Despite only playing 26 games, he scored 12 goals, which is a very respectable return. And the loanees, Jake Wilkins with 8 assists and a goal, and Tom Holmes with 2 goals and assists. Both were huge for us, which I think we would look to bring them back. We might not be able to, but we will definitely try. Although the boys were celebrating, we still had a mission at hand. We need that title. Unfortunately, Ipswich had other plans. Since the start of February, Ipswich Town has had a 13 league game unbeaten run, only dropping points against Lincoln City and Plymouth Argyle, which means they also won their last 3 games, which also did include a 3-2 win over Barnsley, which inadvertently helped us confirm our promotion. But this does mean that going into the last 2 games, us and Ipswich were still separated by just 1 measly point. And so both of us needed to win our last 2 games or risk needing the other team to drop points. First game, we went up against Morecambe and smashed them 6-0. We held our part of the bargain, and now all we need is Ipswich to drop points. Luckily, Ipswich was drawing with MK Dons until the 92nd minute, where they scored a late winner. Going into the last game, that means we are still separated by only 1 point. We are up against Exeter, and they are up against Accrington Stanley. And well, let's just say things didn't go off to the best of starts. Exeter scored their first goal in the 18th minute. What the f***? At this point, no matter what Ipswich do, if they lose, if they win, if they draw, as long as we don't get a win, we are not going to win the SkyBet League One. However, just as it was looking bleak in the 24th minute, Who else but the lonely Tom Holmes rising up from a corner and scored a goal. Alas, they scored. And well, Ipswich hung on. They won 2-0 despite going down a man, and even though we won 5-2, Ipswich won the league. Now, although the atmosphere was a bit down, we can still take pride of the fact that we went up in our first time asking. And now all we have to do is look forward to next season. Before we end, let's see what our transfer budget is like next season. Ho 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 ho.